Hi, I'm Ryan Wolf, the creator of Shadowstar Corsairs, and in this video I'm going to be doing a playthrough of a few turns in a 4-player game. First I'll show you how the game's set up, and then we'll move into the actual playing. Thank you for watching. So you start the setup by laying out the board. For a 4-player game you'll typically use a 3x3 grid of sectors. For a 2-player you could use just 4 sectors or 6. It's really up to you. So there's a standard layout for sectors, and then you can also use a random layout if you'd rather, or just an arbitrary setup. And these are two-sided, so one side has slightly more resources and also a different layout to sort of change things up. So this is the standard layout here. Okay, so you lay out the expanse how you want, and then you take the politics deck and discard 3 cards, and the same thing with the technology deck. And this just sort of primes the discard pile so that you have something to draw from later on. And then a single contract is turned up as the public contract. Okay, and then it's the individual player setups next. So each player will get a contract. They'll choose a player mat, which basically chooses their player color for the game. And then you randomly determine a start player, and that player picks one of the available ships, places it on their flight stand, and takes the equivalent ship mat. There's 4 different types of ships here, and it's okay if players choose the same type. You can mix and match however you want. And so the ownership token just ties this miniature to that ship mat in the event that you buy 2 of the same class of ship later on. Okay, so the first person to choose ships is the last one to place their ship. So the other players would place their ships on the board, and then I would place on any perimeter square. And you start with a ship and a shuttle. It has to be adjacent. 3 crew on your ship. 3 credits in the Confederation headquarters station cargo hold. And then your 1 private contract. And from there, we're ready to begin. And so during your turn, you can move all of your ships, take 1 specific action, and then when that's done, conduct combat with any rivals you're adjacent with. While you're doing the move and the action, you can transfer cargo and crew into any locations and spaces that you're adjacent to. Alright, so to demonstrate that, what we're going to do from Griffin here, my Kestrel class ship, we're going to transfer 1 crew member from that ship just into the location we're already in. Transfer another one from that ship onto the shuttle. And the shuttle is just a little ship with a speed of 2, cargo space of 1, 1 combat strength. They're just cheap little helper ships. So we're going to use this speed of 2 to go 1 and then 2, and then unload that crew member into this location here. And the locations are the areas that are bordered in blue, and they contain the resource icons. A player controls a location if they're the only one with a unit in that location. Alright, so I want to take advantage of Griffin's speed here to go 4 spaces. So 1, 2, 3, and then 4. And then we'll unload my final crew member into this area here, which is a really nice metal production zone. Alright, so now for the action for the turn, what I'm going to do is mine, okay, or produce metal icons. But first, what I should do is, as I take over each of these locations, is increase my resource levels according to the icons that are there. So you can see I've just gained 1, 2, 3, 4 metal icons. So my finance level, which is what's tied to metal, goes up by 4. Alright, giving me a total of 5, which is actually the maximum you can have. So I'm well set up to mine metal and produce money. Alright, so I have 4 of those icons on the board, plus I have 1 of each icon built into my player mat, so that's where the 5th one comes from. Alright, this location also has a parts icon, so my technology level, which is what's associated with parts, also goes up 1. Okay, so anyway, so my resource levels are correct, and at any time I can just look at the board and count the icons to get these resource levels. So it's what I like to call cat-proof. If my cat runs across the board and scatters these cubes, it's not really that big a deal. I can reconstruct the situation pretty easily. Alright, so my action, I'm going to mine. My finance level is 5, so that's going to produce 5 metal. And where they're going to appear is just where the icons are. So 2 of them are going to show up in this location here. 1 will show up over here. 1 back here, and then the 5th one will show up in my station cargo hold. Okay, remember this cargo hold here is an unlimited supply that's safe, and it's actually physically located on the board in the Confederation headquarters there in the middle of the expanse. Alright, well now that I've done that action, I do have a couple more transfers I want to do. I want to load these two metal tokens onto Griffin, just so they're a little safer. This one back here, I want to start working towards the station, so I'm going to put into the transit system. The transit system is sort of a virtual system. It's considered adjacent to everything, and I have one transit berth available, so I can move one thing at a time through there. And the next turn I'll be able to bring it out to the station or wherever I need it. Alright, I'm not adjacent to anyone for combat, and so that will end my first turn as the blue player. Okay, before I do the first turn as the gold player, because play goes around clockwise, white would go and then red before I actually get to gold. But we're not really going to focus on them. So let's just say his shuttle's already in a good technology spot. He might move his cargo ship up, drop off a couple guys to secure Port Vigilant. Keep his other crew member on board for now. Red, say leave a guy in Gemini there, maybe reinforce him with a single crew member, and then fly off in this direction. And we'll just assume that red and white are kind of mucking around on the bottom half of the board, not really doing anything that's going to influence us up here where I'm doing the demonstration. So we'll just kind of ignore them from here on out. Okay, but they would have their turns in between blue and yellow each time it came around. All right, so to start my turn as the yellow player, my goal for this turn is to secure 3 technology locations so that I can use my my salvage shuttle contract. And that's not very difficult since I specifically chose this starting location to do that. So I'll move my shuttle. He only needs to go one space to claim that location. He also moved into a hazard zone, a yellow square, so that's as far as he can move anyway. I'll drop a guy off in Odin's Eye here. And then I'll move. I have a speed of 3, so 1, 2, 3. And drop off a second crew member here in Tarsus. I'll keep the other one on board for now. Alright, and you notice I dropped this guy not in an actual adjacent space, but just in the location. For crew and for cargo tokens, they are just concerned with the location as a whole. They aren't in specific squares. Just anywhere in the location is the same for them. As long as you're adjacent to the location, you can load or unload or attack them or whatever you need to do. Alright, ships and shuttles move specifically by the squares. Alright, but crew and cargo go by locations. Alright, so that's it for moving. What would I like to do for transferring? Looks like I'm good for now, at least till I generate some things. So what I want to do is generate a few parts. And so I'm going to do, that's called the salvage operation. And so it's equivalent to what I did for metal over as a blue player, except I'm going to be doing it for parts icons. So first off, my levels increased. My technology level went up 3. My metal level also went up 3. And then you can see there's 2 recruit icons, so my personnel level went up 2. And this actually has a tribute icon, which will increase my politics level by 1 as well. Alright, so I'm going to do a salvage operation. I've got a 4 tech level, so I'm going to generate 4 parts tokens. And they'll appear 1 there, 2, 3, and 1 at the station because I have that icon there. Okay, so then I got a couple more transfers to do. So I want to load this part in the Rambler and then this one because I'm adjacent to those 2 spots. This one I'm not adjacent to, so it's just going to stay out there for now. Alright, and I guess lastly, what I'll do, well I do want to remember to do my contract, but I'm going to move this money from the station into the transit system. I want to start kind of moving some money out onto Rambler so that I can then use it to like buy bombs or do repairs or potentially upgrade. But either way, it'll do me more good out on the ship than it will at the station. And so then I'm going to turn in this contract, which I can do at any point during my turn as long as the condition is fulfilled. And it says if you control locations on the board displaying 3 or more parts icons, then you may gain a shuttle for free. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, good enough. So I've completed this contract. It gets tucked in under here. This is called the stash, which is where cards accumulate till you turn them in for a commendation. And it's worth a single reputation point. So 1 out of these 3 stars over here is lit up. All right, and so I gain a shuttle. It comes out in any place I control, so we'll put it here. And again, not quite adjacent for combat, so that will end my first turn as the gold player. So at the end of my turn, I compare my number of contracts to the number of ships and make sure they're equal. I have 1 ship and I don't have any contracts since I just fulfilled one, so that means that I get to draw a new contract. Okay, and this one is a commandeer contract, which basically means if I get to the point where I was going to destroy another player's ship, I could capture it instead, assuming I had some parts or money on hand to repair it a little bit. So we'll just put that over here. And again, these would normally be kept secret in a real game. Alright, so the second turn as the blue player. I'm going to make some money this turn because I got a good contract here and the means to fulfill it. So let's start right out. I want to move Griffin, got a speed of 4, so we're going to go 1, 2, 3. And since I'm adjacent to the Confederation headquarters, I'm going to take the opportunity to unload these 2 metal onto the station. I'm also adjacent to this location that has this metal floating around, so we'll load it onto the ship and then from the ship onto the station. And I've got that metal I put into transit last turn. We'll take out of transit, put it on the station. Alright, and then before I do my 4th move, we'll pick up this crew member and take him with us. And then we'll move the shuttle in there to keep control of this area for later. Alright, and he moved into a hazard zone, so that's the end of his move for the turn. Okay, so what I want to do then is turn in my dark metal stockpile contract. And that's saying if you have 4 more metal tokens at the station, you may exchange them for 6 kilocredits. So that's a pretty good deal. So we will spend our 4 metal and gain 6 credits. Alright, and normally you can refine metal to turn it 1 for 1 into money, but that takes the refine action. So this is both a better exchange rate and more importantly doesn't take an action to do. And then I've also fulfilled the contract, and so as soon as I realize where, there it is, so it gets to go into my stash. And this one's worth 2 reputation. And commendation costs 5 reputations. That's what I'm building towards to get my first commendation. Alright, so now what do I want to do for my action? I mean, I'm pretty well set up to do a purchase action. There's a lot of stuff I could buy with that money, but I'm not sure what the other players are doing yet, so I'm just going to kind of stay flexible and keep that as cash for now. And so I'm going to take advantage of the fact that I still have a bunch of metal producing locations to mine more metal. Alright, my resource levels haven't changed, so I still have 5 finance levels, so 5 tokens will come out. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm not adjacent to those 2, so they're just going to have to sit out there. This one will load into transit, and that one will just hang out where it's at. Alright, so it looks like I'm pretty well set. I've done all the movement I can. I've done the transfers I want to. I'm not next to anyone for combat. So at the end of my turn, I do need a replacement contract. And we draw. This one is a piracy contract. So if I attack somebody and inflict at least a point of damage, I can steal 1 or 2 of their cargo at that time. Alright, so ignoring the white and red players. The second turn for yellow or gold. Let's see, I'm kind of tempted by these metal tokens sitting out here. And also the gunboat diplomacy public contract is pretty tempting as well. It basically says if I inflict damage, 2 or more points of damage on someone, I get a repair damage to myself for doing that. And this is a pretty low risk fight to begin with, so I'll make that my goal for this turn. In addition to buying the cards that I'm after, I think I can probably capture that space fairly easily. So the way we're going to do that, we're going to start out, we're going to load this crew member onto Rambler. I've got 4 cargo space, so I'm full up at the moment, but that's fine. And then we'll move 1, 2, 3, second diagonal there, costing double. And let's see, we'll bring this shuttle up, say 1, 2, and then I can transfer this part from there onto the shuttle, from the shuttle onto Rambler. At the same time, to make room for it, we'll take a crew member off of Rambler and drop him into this space, sort of invading the asteroid field there. Alright, and then load the parts. Because I want to keep control of this space, I'll take my other crew member, load it from Rambler onto the shuttle, from the shuttle into this space. So I'm going to need to keep my technology level high in order to buy cards and then play those technology cards later. Okay, so it looks like we have things in position pretty well. Any other transfers? I guess bring this out of transit and move the next one in. And then we'll do my action. I'm going to do, it's called the reconstruct action, which is turning parts into technology, represented by the cards over there. I have a tech level of 4, so I can turn in up to 4 tokens for tech cards. So we'll spend all 4. And so we can draw 4 cards. I'm going to draw the first one off of the discard pile, which is a heavy weapons card, basically an extra point of damage in combat. And I did that mainly so that then I could draw this one, which is an interceptor modification. So that's a card when I activate it, I can increase the stats on Rambler. Ion missiles I'm not that excited about, so I'll draw the next 2 randomly off the top of the deck. Alright, so repair drones, that's another ship customization that'll help it repair. And the cloning tank let me produce more troops, basically turn 1 troop into 2 or 3. So, not bad cards. They'll take an activate action, so I'll probably use them next turn. And remember, my long-term goal is to play these cards so that then I can take their reputation and turn those into the commendations, which are the victory points here in Shadowstar Corsairs. Alright, so these of course would be kept secret. We'll just put them over here for now. Alright, and then onto the combat. So I have 3 different ways I could attack this lowly blue crewman out here in the asteroid field. I could do a crew-to-crew fight. My shuttle could attack him, or Rambler could. A lone crewman has a combat strength of 1. Alright, the combat strength of an outpost, which is crew and cargo outside of a ship, is equal to the number of uninjured crew that are in that location. And you can have up to 3, but he's by himself, so he's got a strength of 1. My crew would also have a 1, so that'd be a fair fight. Shuttles have a combat strength of 1, so that would be another fair fight. So we want to avoid those. And instead we'll attack with Rambler first, who has a combat strength of 2 and has 7 hull strength. I mean, these guys just have 2 hit points each. So they could easily wipe each other out. But since I don't want to really suffer any casualties, we'll attack with Rambler. I could play the heavy weapons card if I needed to, but I don't think I'm going to need it for this fight. So we won't play any cards. Blue doesn't have any cards to play, so we go straight to the dice rolling. So I'm going to do 2 damage, because that's my combat strength, then plus or minus 1. So these dice have a couple pluses, a couple minuses, and a couple zeros. Alright, so I do 2, plus 1. Okay, so I'm going to inflict 3 damage on that crew. He's only got 2 hit points, so he's toast. Alright, but he does still get his counterattack. So his combat strength is 1 and minus 1. So he inflicts 0 back on me. Okay, so bad luck for him. So the 3 will kill him. He did 0. If he had inflicted any, I'd be putting damage cubes onto Rambler. But he didn't. Alright, the downside to that... Oh no, I guess I can still repair this contract. Looking at the wording, it says if you inflict 2 damage in one battle, which I did, I inflicted 3, you may repair up to 2 damage among units anywhere on the board. Okay, since it says may repair, I don't have to repair the 2 damage, so I can claim this contract, which will be worth 1 more reputation. All right, my level of metal goes up 2 more, which would put it at 6, but again, 5's the cap. And then at the end of the turn, we need a new public contract. And this is a fleet donation. It says if you have 2 or more ships, you can donate one of them to the Confederation for 3 reputation. Alright, so turn number 3 is the blue player. Now that we see what sort of game it's going to be with gold. So let's start off. We're going to do our action before the moves. You can either do all your moving and then the action, or vice versa. And this time around we're going to start with the action, and we're going to do a purchase action. And so our finance level, it actually dropped down a couple when we lost that space. So probably between turns I would have already adjusted this. But we still have a 3 finance level because we have 1, 2, 3 places. So that means we can do 3 purchases. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to buy a new ship. And that's going to cost us 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to buy Jolin, which is a gunboat. So it's kind of a combat specialized ship. So that should hopefully send a message there. So we spend our 5 credits. We take a matching miniature, put it on one of our flight stands. And we'll bring it out, or bring her out, right here next to the Confederation headquarters. So the new ships come out anywhere you control, and remember you have this space on the station. Also, this area, this restricted space around the station is a safe zone where you can't attack or be attacked. So we're gonna set it there where it's safe, and then if we need to come out next turn and do something, we will. All right, and so that's it for that particular purchase. The next purchase, we're going to upgrade Griffin for 3. So that costs us 3 credits. And to improve Griffin, we basically go from the 5 credit side over to the 8 credit side. That's why it costs us 3 more. And you can see the stats have improved. Her speed's now all the way up to 5, and her hull strength is a little bit stronger. And then we have one more purchase and one more credit. So we'll go ahead and buy a bomb. And we'll load that bomb onto Jolene. And what that does, it gets a one-time +2 damage in combat if you decide to spend that. Okay, so we managed to spend all our money between those 3 purchases, so that's the end of our action. For movement, we just lost some crew, so let's start looking towards getting more crew. So the first step in that process is gaining recruits. So we'll fly down 2 to there and claim that space, and then start heading back towards the action. Okay, these are recruit icons, which we can later turn into more crewmen. All right, this shuttle's gonna hang back there where it's a little safer, and Jolene we could bring out and get into the thick of things right now. But we're gonna wait till next turn till we can get more ships into the fray. All right, so that will end the turn, except that I've got 2 ships and only 1 contract. So I get to draw another contract, and this one is Bounty Hunter. So it says if you destroy a rival ship, not a shuttle, you can gain 4 credits, and it's also worth 3 reputation. So that's a good one for a combat specialized ship, but really, I mean, they're mix and match, so it doesn't matter. I've got 2 ships and 2 contracts. Okay, so as the gold player, let's see. First, let's empty out this transit berth so I can load one of these metal on that and start shipping it off to safety just in case I don't end up holding that space for too long. I guess the other metal we may as well put on the Rambler since I have the space. So we've properly pillaged that area. And now I'm basically just want to form a defensive line and see if blue is actually has the gumption to attack or not. So Rambler will stay there. We'll bring the shuttle up. And for my action, we're going to play some cards. So I'm doing an activate action, which is playing technology cards. Alright, the heavy weapons you can only play during combat, so that one's not a factor. The interceptor gets slid right under your card like that. So now Rambler has a 3 combat strength and also a speed of 4. The repair drones, which says while this card's in play, if your tech level is 4 or higher at the end of your turn, you can repair 1 damage to the ship it's attached to. So we'll put that on Rambler as well. Alright, so there we go. And then the last one, and again I have a tech level of 4, so I can play up to 4 cards. I've only got the 3 to actually play, but we'll use this last one, cloning tank. So you can replace one of your crew with 2. And so we'll replace that guy with 2, so he's cloned. And this is a variable level one. It says at tech level 3 you can do this twice, and at tech level 5 you can do it a 3rd time. So I have a 4 technology level, so I can do that again. So we'll replace that guy with these 2 guys. All right. So now we've hit the cap for crew members in that space. So that's as strong as it's going to get. Okay. So importantly, now that I've played this card, it then goes to my stash, bringing me up to 4 reputation in there. Alright, so turn 4 for blue. We should have some nice bloodshed this time around, because we're not going to put up with that that line that yellow has drawn in space. So, how should we start this? Well, I want to secure some more recruit locations so that I can start building my forces up, kind of looking at the long-term strategy, whereas yellow is playing very short-term, just trying to get that first commendation no matter what. So to do that, I've got a speed of 5 now that Griffin's been upgraded. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5. So that both lets us take control of this space, increasing our personnel level up to the cap, and also gets us adjacent to that shuttle, which should be a fairly easy fight for Griffin. But then to really lay the hurt on the yellow play here, we're going to bring the gunboat out. Only has a speed of 2, but that's alright. We can go 1 and then 2. And that brings it adjacent to 3 different targets. So yeah, I can decide which one I want to attack, and I'll let you in on the secret right now. I'm going to be going after Rambler. Alright, we'll also bring the shuttle up to there, and everybody else will stay where they're at. So before combat starts, though, I need to finalize any transfers and also do the action I want to do. I want to do the recruit action, which is generating recruit tokens. It's actually called the enlist action, but that's just a shorthand way of saying harvesting recruits. So I got 5, 2 there, 2 up here at Dara, and then another one at the station. These 2 will immediately load into Griffin. Because they each have a hit point, they could take a point of damage instead of Griffin. Griffin, because she's improved, actually has a special ability, which if she has no cargo, then she can avoid 1 damage. But I'm not too worried about that, so we'll go ahead and load some cargo in there. And we'll move one of these guys into transit, clearing out the metal to make space, just so that I can later train them. They'll need to be at the station or in the ship to be trained. Okay, so enough of that. Now to the bloodshed. Let's start things off with Griffin attacking the shuttle. Alright, Griffin has a strength of 2, and it's going to stay at 2, so 2 plus 0. The shuttle attacking back, and has to decide about using the heavy weapons, whether you want to use it here or not. Yeah, just going to go ahead and play the heavy weapons card as a defender. So your ship shuttle outpost gains +1 combat strength for this fight. So base strength is 1, rolls +1 for that, and then +1 for the card for a total of 3. Alright, so the shuttle took 2, which will destroy it. And Griffin suffers 3 damage. He's going to go ahead and take 2 of those and then kill off a recruit for the 3rd, just because I want to get 2 damaged right now. Alright, and that's the end of that fight. The heavy weapons card, because it was played, now gets to go into the stash. So now there's a total of 6 reputation in there, so that's good news for next turn. Alright, and so now a little juicier fight here, ship versus ship. So Jolynn's going to attack Rambler. Combat strength is 3. Oh, gets a plus on the die roll. So that's 4 damage coming in. Rambler is going to do 2 +1 because of the interceptor card, so 3. Oh, and also +1. Okay, so maximum damage all the way around. Alright, and so then at this point, Jolynn will decide to spend the bomb for an extra 2 damage. So it did 3, 4, and then the bomb 5, 6. So 6 damage to Rambler. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And she only has 7 hull strength total, so she's 1 point away from being destroyed. Alright, and then the damage coming back was 3 +1, so Jolynn also takes 4. And neither of those ships have crew or recruits on board to mitigate the damage. Okay, so turn 4 is the gold player. My main concern is getting Rambler to safety, but I also can finally earn that first commendation I've been working towards. So I'll go ahead and do the action first. And what the score action does is if you have 5 or more reputation in your stash, you can turn that in for a commendation. And any extra is wasted. Alright, so the 2 contracts are just discarded. The technology is discarded, and I get to choose what order it's going to be put in. I'll go ahead and put the cloning tank on top, so it'll be a little easier for me to recover that if I decide to. Okay, and so then in exchange for that I get 1 commendation token, which goes here. So the short game is played to 3 commendations, so that'd be 1/3 of the way to victory. The longer game would be up to 5. Alright, so moves and transfers. For moving, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, basically try and hide back here. Because ships can't enter a location that's controlled by another player's crew, I'm hoping that'll keep those ships from being able to get to me. And then next turn I can spend money and stuff to repair Rambler. Alright, other forces are going to hold where they're at, and so that's the end of that. Transferring, go ahead and move that over there, and move that into transit. Okay, so combat. I have a pretty strong outpost here, and right next to a fairly injured gunboat, so I'm going to launch that attack. So this outpost with a combat strength of 3 is going to attack Jolin. So 3, -1, so it's going to inflict 2 damage on Jolin. Jolin is going to do 3, +1, coming back. So Jolin takes 2 more damage, and inflicts 3 + 1, 4. Now this crew have 2 hit points each, so and kill off 1, and that leaves 2 damage. I could inflict 1 damage on each of them, but we'll go ahead and just kill off another one altogether. Okay. So before I go on to Blue's turn, I just wanted to point out that if these 3 crew had actually rolled a plus instead of a minus on this combat die, that would have been enough to destroy Jolin, which would have let me play this Commandeer card, take her over, repair some of the damage, and then have a yellow gunboat here on the board instead of that blue one. And that definitely would have changed the situation up quite a bit. But that's not the way the dice worked out, and so we'll continue on with Rambler in fairly dire straits here. So starting turn 5 for Blue, my goal is pretty simple. I want to destroy Rambler before she can get her feet back under her. And so since I can't enter this location with my ships because it's controlled by an enemy crew, I'm going to have to train up some crew and drop them off in that location so that they can attack the ship. And so the first stage in doing that is getting these recruits somewhere trainable. So we'll take this one out of transit and move on to Griffin. That one can be trained on the station, so that's fine. This one's out in the middle of nowhere, so we'll get that recruit into transit. Okay, and for our action, we're going to do the train action, which turns recruits into crew member. We have a personnel level of 5, so we could do up to 5 of these, but we only have 3 in the proper locations to be trained. So those 3 will transform into crew members. So now they're capable of holding territory, they got twice the hit points, they can actually attack. Much more useful. Alright, and so now for our movement, we're going to slide the shuttle up a couple spaces to get it adjacent to the station, and that'll allow it to load this crew and then move it onto Jolin. And then now that she has some crew aboard, Jolin will move up to there, and Griffin, 1, 2, 3, 4, will move up to there. And then Griffin will drop these 2 crew members off in that location, since she can't enter the space herself, and this is a forbidden zone. So that should be enough to carry the fight on to Rambler, though. Alright, so to start combat off, we'll start with Jolin will attack that outpost there at Diomedes. Jolin has a combat strength of 3, and it's going to stay at 3, but that's enough to kill a single crewman with 2 hit points. So that yellow crewman has a 1 combat strength, and -1 is 0. So Jolin doesn't take any damage, and the crew is slain. Okay, and then the next in the important combat, we have 2 uninjured crew here, so that's an attack strength of 2. Plus 0 is going to remain at 2, and then Rambler attacking back has a strength of 3, plus 1 will be 4. So 4 is enough to kill both of those crew, but 2 is also enough to destroy Rambler. Alright, so that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so 8 damage. Rambler only has a 7 hull strength, and so the ship is destroyed. What happens when the ship is destroyed? First off, it's removed from the board, and all of this is cleared away. Alright, the 2 tech cards are discarded, whatever order I care to discard them in. If either of my crew had survived there, I'd be able to use my piracy contract to steal some of that cargo before it was destroyed, but I don't have anywhere to put it since they were mutually destructed there. I can, however, play the bounty hunter contract, so destroy a rival ship to gain 4 credits. It's also worth 3 reputation, so I'm within scoring range now when I get a chance. So we gain 3 reputation and 4 credits at the station. And so as a blue player, I would end out my turn by drawing another contract, and that would end the turn. And so I'm going to finish up the demo right there. Next turn, yellow player would be going without a ship, but then the turn after that they'd be granted a replacement starting ship to come out on the board with and continue the fight from there. The blue player probably turn in these reputation for a commendation next turn, or maybe spend this money to repair their ships and continue on the fight. And of course, at any time, the white player and the red player could return from whatever they're doing down at that end of the board and start to mix things up. But I think we've seen the main body of what goes on in the game. I'll post another video talking about what the advanced game would add and mentioning the few actions we didn't get to in this one. But I thank you for watching, and I hope that you enjoyed this playthrough of Shadowstar Corsairs.